Sports lovers,
Sports fans.
welcome back to another episode of Global Sports from a Caribbean perspective, where we break down the biggest stories in Caribbean football and beyond. The best games, the best takes, the best teams, the best players, all from a Caribbean perspective, turning our passion into purpose. I'm your host today, Shabbat. I'm here with
Dubs, go on.
and we're here to discuss Game Week 8 of the Vinci Soccer Premier League. Game Week 8 delivered drama, controversy, comebacks, and statement performance right across the board. From penalty retakes and red cards to dominant responses from the league leaders, this was a weekend that had a bit of everything. Let's get into the action, and we'll go straight into Friday night's game that saw Leeward Predators take on Avenues United. An absolute roller coaster encounter from start to finish. Avenues taking the L 4-2. DL Spring opened the scoring early for the defending champions, but Avenues responded brilliantly through Cadel Hector, who converted 2 penalties to turn the game around. Just as Avenues began to take control, an unfortunate own goal from my son Lewis brought Predators level. Late drama then took over. Avenues were reduced to 10 men after Johnny Peters was sent off, conceding a penalty in the process. DL Spring initially saw his efforts saved by the standing keeper and coach, Haid, but in a controversial moment, the penalty was ordered to be retaken, and this time he made no mistake in the 84th minute. Ezra Glasgow added a fourth deep into stoppage time to seal a chaotic but very important win for the defending champions. So, where do we start here? A lot to break down.
We start with the refereeing. There needs to be some sort of transparency on the decisions being made. For one, I think the second penalty for Avenues should have been a free kick about 3 yards away from the box. And then the penalty that was retaken by DL, we wonder what was the issue, if there was an encroachment, if Haid was off his line. Yeah, so we need some clarity on the situation. But yeah, I think, and this is one of our best referees in the country. Moet, I think, was the ref. So yeah, I think there should have been, a bit of clearer message as to what happened. Commendations to DL Spring again, and I think it's Pear in the midfield. I think he's one of the unsung heroes who has been quietly doing his job. Work ethic, A plus, really stringing passes together with DL, whether it's short ones or very long ones, breaking the lines. I noticed the vision was on another level from those two, and they should have taken the advantage, especially after going up 1-0. They should have gone on to score another one at least before Avenues got the penalty. But credit to Cadel Hector for working hard to win back the ball, then driving into the box and winning a penalty afterwards. So it was a really good game for the neutral up until the refereeing mistakes and decisions really and truly.
Yeah, just on the refereeing, I have to agree because watching the game on the live stream and seeing the penalty being saved by Haid at force, and then seeing the referee say, no, take it over again. Watching on from a live stream, you would have no idea as to the reason. So some transparency where those decisions are concerned would definitely help going forward, because no one is gonna be held accountable for it. It's just gonna move on, and Avenues has to take that on the chin. Right, in terms of the game, Avenues fought. I was really surprised that they were in the game so late. They scored and equalized through Hector, who fought very hard to win the penalty, the forced penalty. As you mentioned, the second penalty that Avenues were awarded was definitely outside the area as well, and the contact may have continued into the box, but that was clearly outside of the box. I'm not certain what the linesman on that side was saying as well, because there is a linesman right on that side. So I'm not certain how that was awarded as a penalty for Avenues, and I'm not certain if the referee maybe had that in mind going into the second half and maybe had to make up for it in some way, in terms of giving Leeward something in their favor, because I don't see why the penalty was retaken, because Haid was on his line and there was no player who encroached, right? So that was a strange one. But Predators, despite struggling somewhat, they found their way to win, and it's another important win for them nonetheless. As for Avenues, it's another L. They remain bottom of the table, and Hector may be scoring goals mainly from the penalty spot, but they look definitely uninspiring. And now that Hayde is in the goal, that definitely says a lot about the problems at the moment, because if your head coach has to be the one who has to come in and be your goalkeeper, if first goalkeeper Hector is unavailable for whatever reason, and Hayde has to be the one to come in to replace him, it's not a good sign at all for their survival chances going forward, because as bright in the mind as Hayde would be, he's definitely not, as quick on his feet as he would be. And while he might be able to keep some out, he definitely wouldn't be able to keep all out going forward. So it's definitely something that they're gonna have to address, the goalkeeping situation. But another 3 points for Predators as they look to retain their title. Moving on to the second game from Friday night, which saw Bequia United and Jebelle take on each other. The points were shared in a tight and competitive contest. Bequia struck early through Carlos Simmons in the 5th minute after capitalizing on poor build-up play from Jebelle. Jebelle remained patient and found the equalizer in the 57th minute through Mitran Jan. The match was intense throughout, with Jebelle picking up 7 yellow cards, but neither side could find a winner. So I was watching this game as well on the live, and it was very choppy. Every other minute, every other 30 seconds, whistle was blowing, there was a foul. And as mentioned, with Jebelle picking up the majority of those cards, well, all of those cards, it was a very tense encounter.
Yeah, one that you could see that teams know that basically everything is on the line at this moment for them in the season, as early as it is. Beck still fighting to get their first win of the season, trying to scrap through, and conceding goals in the last 2 fixtures, if I could remember correctly. They would like to they showed that they wanted to be a bit more competitive with a bit more bite in their game. Jebelle as well, with title aspirations, you would have expected them to, roll over a whimpering Bequia, if I do say so. And they found it quite difficult to open them up and be a bit more decisive and clinical with their chances. Credit to Java and Mitran, I think his name is.
Yeah, Mitran Jan.
For the little square and the nice build up. I can't remember who played the ball through to him, but it was a nice build up and a nice goal. So credit to them, just for them to exhibit that more often, in order for them to stay with the pack.
Yeah, it was a very spirited performance by Bequia, a performance that we saw earlier on in the season, compared to what they would have been showing more recently. I expected Jebelle to take the points here, and maybe they let their guard down coming into the game. I'm not sure, but the way that they conceded their first goal is certainly something that would show a team that is taking their opponent for granted somewhat, because we know the surface in Victoria Park isn't the best. Well, Independence Park isn't the best, and they're trying to build out from the back. While it may be commendable, if you have someone pressing you, sometimes it's better to just get it out the road. So, credit to Carlos Simmons for finishing clinically, because he spanked it. He's absolutely spanked the ball into the back of the net. A great finish. And then Beckwith fight it from then on, and eventually Java, produced his magic and set up young man Mitran Jan for the equalizer, and the game basically petered out after that. Like I mentioned, there was a lot of fouls. The commentators, Jan and Charlo, kept mentioning that it was one of the games that they've seen the most fouls in so far, basically, and they obviously speaking from a commentary perspective. So there's no official stats for how many fouls there were, but I'd like to bet that was high up there in terms of fouls, highest foul game for the season so far. So Beck would be happier with the result for sure. Jebelle would be disappointed in a title charge.
Yeah, of course. And one thing I wanted to touch on as well, you mentioned the way they conceded the goal. That's not the first time it happened. I think, if memory serves me correct, it happened against Chelsea, where they tried to play out of the back and they were caught on the ball in the same fashion. So while this might be their identity and they would like to, play from the back to pull the teams in and see how they could play through them, they need to be sharper. Passes need to be crisper, and yeah, as you said, whenever you know it's getting a bit too close or too risky, clear the ball.
Clear the ball, most definitely. And that's something that I would have been crediting Jebelle a lot for this season is the organization and the way they build out throughout the back. But over the past few games, it's been really sloppy. So something that they have to tighten up on. Moving on to the Sunday games, and the first game of Sunday was arguably the game of the weekend. Saw BESCO Pastures and Awesome FC play out a thriller. BESCO looked to be in full control early on with goals from Cardell Tibbles and Dylan Moore giving them a 2-0 lead inside 22 minutes. The turning point came in the 38th minute when BESCO goalkeeper Shane Holder was sent off after bringing down Awesome FC striker Giovanni Enville, who was through on goal. Awesome took advantage in the second half. Enville pulled one back in the 63rd minute before Chad Straw took over the game. Straw equalized in the 72nd minute, capitalizing on indecisive goalkeeping, and then completed the comeback in the 87th minute with a composed finish after breaking down the right. Massive turnaround and a statement win for Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Credit to Straw and the boys again. Really inspired performance from him, and one of the most dangerous players in the league, I must say. I really didn't get to see the first bit of it, as you know, the Madrid game was on. So I really didn't get to see the first bit of it. But this is something I kind of complained about our pitch to the producers or whoever is handling the broadcast or the graphics package, where I didn't know a red
Red
card
card.
happened in the game again. So that makes sense why there was this dramatic turnaround in the game, and Arsenal felt like their tails were up and they couldn't really pounce on the opportunity. Yeah, as I said, credit to Stradstraw and the guys, credit to the coach for putting out a fight back. Normally they are one of the more solid teams, and for conceding 2 goals only is uncharacteristic of them. So yeah, credit to them for the resilience and the fight back. I mean, yeah, of course they got the gift with the red card to the keeper, but you still have to take your chances and convert every time.
You mentioned something off camera in terms of the goalkeeping this tournament, so far this tournament, and it was highlighted a lot in this game because the keeper who was sent off for BESCO came charging off his line. Your team is 2-0 up. Even if someone is through one-on-one on goal with you, the safer thing to do is to stay in the goal and try to save the shot. Not come out and charge out like a madman and take him out. This happened outside of the area as well. So he put his team at a disadvantage, making them have to sub one of the outfield players as well, the Nelson Lewis, who's been dangerous for them so far this season. So you could say that the moment in the 38th minute really, really changed the game. And as you mentioned, credit to Stra, he's been one of the most impressive players in the Premier League, not just this season, but last season as well. He's really making a name for himself, one would have to say. Really impressive performance because even for the first goal that they scored, he was very instrumental in the build-up, playing the pre-assist basically, and then the fullback crossed it over for Enville who tapped it in. So credit to Stra, credit to Awesome FC for showing resilience in their last few games. They've been a bit toothless, not scoring as freely as they showed here in the second half. So credit to them. BESCO would definitely be disappointed with the result though, considering that they were 2-0 up and looked to be cruising. And they have shown to be a solid defensive team as well. So I'm sure Tosti and his coaching staff would be very disappointed with the way they let that game slip. So awesome performance from Awesome, one would have to say, and disappointing result for BESCO. Moving on to the second game from Sunday, which saw two Leeward teams clashing. A physical and tightly contested battle ending in a share of the points between Layou FC and Camdonia FC. Camdonia struck early in the 6th minute through Jamal Luke, who caught the Layou goalkeeper off his line with a long-range effort. Layou pushed for an equalizer and eventually found it through Emroy Glaster, whose long ball was not properly dealt with by the Camdonia goalkeeper. A hard-fought battle where both teams battled for every ball, neither could find a winner. So title chasing, you would definitely be disappointed with dropping 2 points here, but the resilient and surging Camdonia would certainly be settling with a draw.
Yeah, pretty sure Camdonia players left the park with their heads held high. It was a really respectable performance, another competitive performance from them. Huge credit to Luke. Personally, watching Layou playing for the last 8 weeks, that been like my favorite player. Like you could have seen him
Camdonia.
for Camdonia. You could have seen him being the engine for them, especially on the wings. You could have seen that everything kind of went through him, apart from the Nigel Charles on set pieces, and so you could have seen that Luke with the 10 on his back was the man for Chelsea, and it was really good to see him take those opportunities. It was a all shot. He caught the keeper off. I really believe that, and this will be a theme of the episode, and I guess for the VSPL as we go forward, the keeper could have done better, honestly speaking, because he's a tall man. It looked like he was comfortable and it just slipped through his hands. It really slipped through. So, but credit to Luke for taking it on early, and then he did try again in the probably in the 90th minute, and he hit the post. So a bit more dip on that, and Luke would have been in the headline for sure. But yeah, spirited performance on Chelsea. I think they caught Layou off guard. I think they were a bit shell shocked by the way how Chelsea came off the line, especially after the early goal, and they never really got back into the game. Leeward and Migno, as we know, normally takes hold of the game and really put their impression on the game, and we really didn't see that. And yeah, it was really good credit to them. Coffee in midfield, always with the experience and the talent we know he has. He's always a standout player for them. But apart from that, it was really a disjointed performance from Chelsea and from Layou in my book.
Yep, I have to echo everything that you said there because you basically spelled out the entire game there. From Chelsea opened the scoring in the 6th minute. That basically took Layou off of their game completely. Migno and Ledger would never really got into the game and got clear opportunities to score. Um, Coffee in midfield did his thing, but frustrated nonetheless as he couldn't really be his influential self. Jamari Lynch down the right hand side was stifled as well by the left back. Credited More credit has to go to Camdonia most definitely for this game because Layou definitely did not play up to their level, and Chelsea has a big part to play in that. You mentioned that Luke also hit the post late. That was a superb shot, and I think that was with his right foot, and he scored with his left. So credit to him, looking like a very promising player, one for the future, and credit to Chelsea for taking points. Again, and after the start they had to the season, we must say this is a superb turnaround
Correct.
that they've made thus far, and they're definitely gonna be charging up the table and beating teams. So moving on to Sunday's final fixture, which saw the league leaders take on Hope International, and it was a dominant response from them following their first last loss last week. System 3 bounced back in emphatic fashion with a 5-0 victory over their rivals Hope International. Zibian Cunningham led the charge with a brace, celebrating his national call-up in style. Azino Solomon added another goal to take his tally to 15 for the season, while Lazaro Lynch also celebrating a national call-up, and Javin Sutherland also got on the score sheet. A one-sided affair that re-established System 3's dominance at the top of the table. One must say.
Yeah, for sure. Starting with Hope, though, where do they really go from here? Is my question, because yesterday the only bright spark I really saw was I think it was Millington on the right hand side, and otherwise than that, it really didn't look like chances or goal or anything positive would come for Hope, honestly speaking. And then when you look on the other side, the one positive I could point out before the goal started going in is that I noticed that they were defending these crosses and the set pieces a little better until the goal went in, and then it went awry again. So yeah, still had those defensive issues where they can't seem to clear crosses, they can't seem to have a nice and concise build up. They are really, really looking poor, and and really no better than the Bequias and the Avenues at the moment, to be very honest, to be frank.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But let me try to give them some credit and say that for the first half, at least, before the goals started flying in, as you mentioned, they did compete well. They did compete well for a good portion of the first half. Aside from Millington on the right hand side, the number 11 as well, Shamar Wilkes, I think his name was threatening, to some degree. Bradshaw and the likes in the midfield were also playing well, but as you mentioned, it did not lead to anything fruitful. They ended the game with another blank. They not troubling the the system three goalkeeper often.
Yeah, and they seem like they changed it around. Valo was benched this time, so it seemed like they tried to tweak it a little and still no
Yeah,
goals.
but that didn't work. So we any team that steps to system three and is not your true self and able to put up somewhat of a resistance, system three is gonna swat you away. Doesn't matter if your name is as big as Hope International, right? What we're seeing on the field is not a resemblance of what they are known for in their history. So it's really a shame to see that they've fallen so far
So
to
far
this
to
level
finish, yep.
compared to what their preseason expectations may have been. As for System 3, business as usual, the impressive Zibian Cunningham has to be highlighted because it's another great game for him. Playing an advanced midfield role, bombing on, scoring goals, tackling, running, being the engine of the team. It was a great performance for him and he's very impressive. I'm looking forward to see him in national colours as well. Shout out to Solomon who got his name back on the score sheet as well. Lazaro Lynch, excellent player in the midfield for System 3 as well, the number 10 alongside Cunningham. So they seem to be firing on all cylinders again. And
Yeah, they do. They it was a point in the game. I was like, "What the man? Man had a little competition in the team for more scores or something." Because, well, for at least second, bro. Because it was like, nah, bro, I ain't passing to you, bro. It's my turn. Let me cash it now. It had that kind of feel at a point in time. Like everybody was trying to cash in. But yeah, I like the hunger. I like that. They were trying to be ruthless, and I hope that the hunger for goal though cloud that is team force and try to get the 3 points on the board.
yeah, the wingers, had a shout out the wingers, the Shamron Phillips, especially
Yeah,
on
boy.
the left hand side, he gave our brethren, Wami, a very tough time on that wing.
Yeah,
And
boy.
there's a particular clip with him getting the ball flicked over his head and running down the wing, and he's very
Yeah,
dangerous,
for
Shamron
real.
Phillips. So shout out to System 3 back to their winning ways. And as for Hope International, it's left to be seen what their season will behold them. So after game week 8, here's how things shape up at the top of the table. System 3 remain in first place with 19 points, extending their lead at the top. Now, Leeward Predators move into second position with 16 points, while Layou sit close behind in third with 15 points. BESCO Pastures drop to fourth with 13 points, and followed by Jebelle on 12, and Awesome climbing up to 11 after their big comeback win. Camdonia continue to steadily rise with 8 points, while Hope International remain on 6. At the bottom, Bequia move to 4 points, while Avenues remain rooted at the foot of the table with just 3 points. The Golden Boot race continues to heat up, at least the race for second, because Azino Salomon continues to lead the way with 15 goals, extending his advantage at the top. Kobe Migno remains second on 8 goals, while DL Spring moves up to 7 with his brace. Garrett Ledgerwood sits on 6, while Chad Straw, after his brace, joins Cadel Hector and Zibian Cunningham as well, who scored a brace this weekend on 5 goals. Java Odin follows on 4, while a number of players are remained 3 goals as the race continues to stay competitive. So we move into our awards for this week. Player of the week will be Mr. Zibian Cunningham from System 3. Very impressive midfielder, scored 2 goals and earned himself a national call-up. Definitely one of the standout performers in the league this season. A bonus player of the week has to go to Chad Struggle from Awesome FC, 2 goals and a match-winning performance to lead his team down from 2-0 to a 3-2 victory. Team of the week has to be Awesome FC for their comeback victory against BESCO Pastures in the game of the weekend. So team of the week, Awesome FC, players of the week, Chad Straw of Awesome FC and Zibian Cunningham from System 3. So looking ahead to game week 9, however, I think there'll be an international break this week where there won't be any football, and then the following week after that is the Easter weekend, so there won't be any football for the next 2 weeks. Right? So these predictions that we're about to make will be for game week 9 when football returns. So Hope International will take on Avenues United. Both teams are in need of points at the lower end of the table. So the question is, can Hope take advantage of Avenues' struggle, or will Avenues finally secure a much needed win versus a wounded Hope?
Surely this must be it for Hope. Surely this must be a 3 points for Hope. I mean, bottom of the table Avenues, who have been, playing better recently, I must admit. But they are at the bottom of the table, and this is your best opportunity to get 3 points. They need to go to the training grounds, walk the thing out, and see if they could come back with a plan where they could pick apart Avenues and and come back home with a comfortable 3 points. So yeah, I will go with a Hope 1-0 victory, and this is because I believe that they believe this is the opportunity to pick apart the team out the bottom of the table.
Yeah, if Hope can't get points from this game, they definitely will be in the relegation fight. Similar to what's happening with Tottenham Hotspur in the Barclays
Correct.
Premier League, similar type situation. Right, so I'd have to agree with you that Hope will look at this game as an opportunity for 3 points. However, I could see Avenues also looking at it as opportunity for 3 points. And as a result of that, I could see both teams cancelling each other out, and I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the second game, which will see Jebelle take on BESCO Pastures. Two teams pushing for consistency meet in what could be a crucial mid-table clash. Which team responds better under pressure and takes control of their season?
This game could really fizzle out into a draw. With what I've seen from Jebelle in recent weeks and what I've pointed out earlier, hopefully they could tweak that and be a little bit more tidy. As I said, with the both teams pushing for the title, really and truly, still trying to be in the chase for the title. I believe they would try to come out all guns blazing, but at the same time, very cautious. And with that being said, I think it would boil down to a draw.
Okay, I could see this also playing out to a draw. Both teams, as we mentioned, struggling for consistency. I'm not sure where, their next, not sure what their next performance is gonna bring. Basically, their performances fluctuate from game to game. Both teams, so it's very difficult to make a prediction. Basically, right? But I'll go with Jebelle to edge this one slightly. Um, Reason being, maybe they have just a bit more quality up front, and their title aspirations would, be fading anymore if they to pick up 3 points here. So I'll go for Jebelle to take up a 2-1 victory over BESCO Pastures. Moving on to the third game of that weekend, which will see Bequia United take on Layou FC. Bequia face a tough challenge against one of the league's strongest attacking teams. Can Bequia pull off an upset, or will Layou firepower too much?
You could see that they know how their situation is, and they don't want to fall into the well, they are in the drop and they're trying to come out of the drop. They were trying to come out with that fight, but that fight might be to their detriment, and you might see gaps and really tear them apart with the likes of Migno and Leeward. I'm not too sure what's his status on Velox. He's been in and out of the team. I'm not sure if he was in the last game there, but yeah, with him back, it only bolsters the attack even more if he does come back. But yeah, I think it should be a easy victory for Lee.
Yeah, shouldn't be too complicated for Layou here, although they've shown to have lapses in concentration and not fully put teams away when they, are favorites in games. So I could see them struggling at times, but I would see them having too much for the Grenadines outfit, and I could see them winning 3 goals to nil. The fourth game of that weekend will see Awesome FC take on System 3 in one of the standout fixtures of the weekend. Can Awesome carry their momentum into this clash, or will System 3 continue their dominance at the top?
I think both things can be true. Some can bring the momentum into the game and give System 3 a run for their money. But at the end of the day, I think System 3 will just have too much quality, and I think they would be more clinical on the day. But it would be a high scoring affair, and I think I'll lean to System 3 to win 4 goals too.
Could also see a high scoring affair with the aforementioned Straw and Williams and Enville up front for Awesome. They could definitely put a goal or two into System 3's net, but the rate at which System 3 would respond will be too much for Awesome. I could see System 3 running away comfortably, like 4 goals to 1. Moving on to the final fixture of game week 9, which will see Camdonia Chelsea take on Leeward Predators. Campdonia's resurgence meets the defending champions' growing momentum. Can Campdonia cause problems for the champions, or will Predators continue their push up the table?
Whew. Yeah, this one tough. Again, I believe this one could end in a draw. And I am gonna watch this one with particularly keen interest in the midfield battle, because another player who I believe has been going under the radar is, don't know the first name, but I think is the captain, or he wore the captain armband for Chelsea last game, is Cottle in midfield. And he's been doing the dirty work, getting them out of trouble at times too when needs be in tight situations and he needs to escape a few players. I think that that kind of workmanship goes under the radar, and him against DL and Pay in the midfield should make for a tasty matchup. But I think at the end of the day, it might just be too much for them. But if DL could be neutralized, because what I have noticed is the vision for the game is crazy, yeah? And the off ball and on ball vision really incredible from the boy, because the awareness to box crash as often as he does, and I doubt he's 6 feet, probably 5'9", something like that. You get me?
Definitely below 6 feet.
And he wins, and this is in national football too. We see in it overs. So the ability to box crash when necessary, hold up play, carry it back, string passes, be 2 lines. It's incredible, and I think that might be too much for them. But on the other hand, not Leeward Predators haven't been clinical, so the likes of Kato on them, the link up is there, but there isn't that cutting edge finish. The X factor isn't there from the attackers, and I feel like sometimes it's all heavily reliant on Spring in the midfield. So I think it might just be a draw. This one should just be a draw, bro.
Yeah, this is an Hollywood clash, and we saw Campdonia play against Layou in another Hollywood clash, and it was very tense, very close, very physical, and Campdonia gave Layou all that they could handle. So I don't see why they won't give Predators all that they could handle as well. I've bet against them in the last two games or so, and they've proved me wrong. So I am gonna go against the grain and go for a Camdonia victory and say that they'd come out on the winning side 2 goals to 1, because they've shown a lot in the last few games. Um, as you mentioned, the captain in the midfield, superb, superb. We don't know his name exactly. We'd have to go some digging, but he's been superb alongside the young man.
Mitchell.
No, Luke,
Right.
Luke,
Big up Luke.
right? They've been shining lights for Campdonia, as well as obviously the Imperious Charles at the back. So I could see them taking the upset over the defending champions here and winning 2 goals to 1.
Big call there, boy.
So before we go, the Sevens and Grenadines national team announced their squad to take on Bonnie and Vinci and Barbados, which those games will be played at the in Bonnie at the Antonio Trinidad Stadium in Bonnie. Right, and the squad is as follows, with goalkeepers being Lemus Christopher, Clinton Payne, and Anthony Lewis. I think Anthony Lewis plays for Layou FC. Defenders Augustus Adams, well deserved call up from BESCO Pastures, Dimitri Thomas, Shaquan Hooper, Jamal York, Nigel Charles of Camdonia, Najima Borgen, who plays for Jebelle, and Jomari Lynch of Layou. The midfielders are Garrett Ledgerwood of Layou, Adine Charles of Not Leeward Predators, DL Spring also of Predators, Lazaro Lynch, Zibian Cunningham, both of System 3, Tyree Clark, Micah Joseph, and Tevin Thompson of Hope. And the forwards, Malcolm Stewart, Azino Solomon of System 3, Stephen Pierre, Courtney Franklin, and Olex Anderson. So, two games coming up against Barbados and against Bonaire. And the squad was announced. The games are on March the 26th and March the 29th. Take on Bonaire Force. So, any thoughts on the squad? Any predictions for the game? First game without Ezra. Wade Jackson is the. I'm not sure if he's the interim coach or if his title is the official coach, but first game under Wade since Ezra left. Thoughts?
Um, Ideally, Wade would have been a part of
The squad.
the coaching staff and knows a bit of what Ezra was trying to do with the squad, so there is not too much of a fall off in identity or change in identity. Um, Squad sounds nice. We always shout for the players in the Premier League who have been performing, to get national call ups, and with the squad we've seen that. So shout out all the first time caps, all the first time call ups, Augustus Adams and the like. And so I seen someone mention Javin Sutherland as to why he hasn't been considered. The only thing I might think is he has probably been injured and be out for probably a few games also, and that probably took him off of the short list. But hopefully, in the next international break with a good string of games, we might see Javin Sutherland in the national team once again, because still has time. He's still around 33, still physically good, so I really can understand why, there has been this omission in the past couple teams. It's something that I would like some clarity on. That's one thing for sure. But yeah, hopefully Banner should be a easy win. I mean, I could remember them getting the first win off us, if I am correct.
We'll fact check.
If I am correct, I can remember them getting their first victory off of us some time ago. But as I said, recently we've seen improvement in the squad, and hopefully the identity isn't much different from what Henderson was trying to build.
Yeah, that's all we could hope for. Hopefully they could carry on from what Ezra was building very, very well. I must say. Um, I like the fact that there are a lot of VSPL players in the team. Could basically build a force level from the VSPL players that were picked. Very happy to see that Augustus Adams was picked because he's been the standout defender in the VSPL so far this season. One would have to say. Um, Shout out to Cunningham and Lynch from
Lynch.
System 3 as well. I'm sure that those three players are getting their debuts or their first call ups to the national team. So congratulations to them. It's always great to see Anderson, in national colours. So looking forward to seeing him out there. But yeah, hopefully we could get 2 wins. Barbados will be a bigger challenge than Bonaire for sure. Hopefully we don't mess up the game against Bonaire, because I think they're below us in the FIFA rankings.
For sure.
If my last check,
No doubt about it.
right, we should be above Bonaire in the FIFA rankings. So that is a team we should be dispatching comfortably. So would be very exciting to see those games. Looking forward to them, and we wish the guys all the best.
Well, hear the scene. Hear the scene. It kind of crazy, right? That from the last weekend of VSPL, the head coach at Avenues was the standout keeper.
Yeah, we need to talk about the
You
whole
know what?
season. We had it off camera. Let's.
Earlier in the season, it was glaring to me that the keeping was below par. I know how difficult it is. It's not the most glamorous position on the field, and a lot of people shy away from that and prefer to play out, of course. But what we see in here is really terrible, and maybe a coaching clinic at the end of the season or throughout somehow or the other, could
Man
be
like
put.
fingers then. Man like fingers then is who could call him shot.
Yeah, because as a viewer, it's really not a good look, especially you see Dutchy throwing himself all around, bro. Like I hate Charlo and Roxel fighting for a player of the match last night just because of how outstanding Dutchy was in goal.
Yep.
You get me? And I just feel it's really crazy that the standard of goalkeeping, the level of goalkeeping, apart from the Limos Christophers and them who don't really play the trade here. You get me? It's real terrible. It's really terrible.
Yeah, it's something that we have to lament because, like I mentioned, we had the conversation off camera, and might as well we bring it here because the standard of the goalkeeping throughout the VSPL has been shocking to say the least. Every week we see at least one or two goalkeeping blunders in every game, I'd say. Right. And aside from Christopher, who you mentioned, who is probably the best Vincentian goalkeeper, there was Sto, I think, from Bequia as well, but he suffered the terrible injury
Right.
all around for Bequia. So the standard of goalkeeping throughout the country has to improve. I don't know what can be done, what measures can be put in place, what workshops, what training, what development can be done, but we need to do better for our goalkeepers because the standard of it that we've seen so far in the highest level of football in the country hasn't been good enough. So most definitely that is something that has stood out to us throughout this season as well. So that was it from us. Tune in to next episode.